I am not an expert. I'm just going to share with you my own journey of recovery and what it's meant to me in regards to where was my problems, and quite frankly, personally, I think I had a thinking problem. So what's beautiful about my life today is, by the grace of God, I get to lead an amazing organization called McGohan Braebender, but that's what I do. What I have is I have an amazing faith that's really important to me. I have a wife. We've been married 32 years. Her name's Lori, and she's my best friend. I have a daughter. Her name's Courtney. She's 30. She's married to a guy named Jack, and I have two grandkids, Jackson, 3.5, and Ellison, that's 6 months old. And those of us that are grandparents understand that we should have had grandkids first for sure. And I have a son. His name's Taylor. He's 27. He's an amazing young man. He's a filmmaker. He just got married to an incredible girl named Megan. So, and I love what I do. I used to be really maybe even ashamed or embarrassed of my recovery journey. Today, I don't use my past to torture myself. What I'm hopeful I can do is use my past to be useful to other people, because it's really important to me. So before we start, I want to ask you to do something, because there's two parts of our body, and this is Scott's opinion, that tell us lies all of the time. And the first part of our body that tells us lies, unfortunately, sometimes is our heart. The number one job of our heart is to protect us. So our heart will tell us things like send us adrenaline or energy to teach us how to freeze or to fight. Or to take off and run. And unfortunately, sometimes it's wrong. The one part of our body that really tells us a lot of stories is our brain. It tells us tons of stories. And your brain is actually knows a lot about this room already. Your brain knows the color of this room, the sound of this room. Your brain knows the color of the blouse of the shirt sitting next to you. And so if red is sitting next to you and yellow came towards you, your brain would react and you would turn towards that. Your brain knows the sound of feet on this floor. Your brain knows the sound of HVC. Your brain knows all of that right now. Your brain also tells you stories at night. If you're like me, sometimes you're in your car and you're driving and you're in a meeting, but you realize there's nobody else in the car, but you're having a meeting with somebody, or the stories you tell yourself at night. I've heard this quote a long time ago, and I love it. It says, sometimes your brain's like a bad neighborhood, and you shouldn't be there alone. And we don't have to be alone, because we have people. They say life's a wonderful teacher, and she rarely gets an apple on her desk. And sometimes what we need to do is just share our journey and share apples with people. So do this for me. So lean in. I want everybody to just come in towards me. Everybody leaned in? Okay, everybody lean in. Just lean in towards me. Because there's something amazing when we lean into a conversation. Things change. One is our ears actually open up. Our eyes are actually open to do things that are different. God gave us 2 eyes and 2 ears and only one mouth for a reason. So when we lean into a conversation, we're available to listen and we're available to learn. So wherever you just were, some of us were in a meeting we had yesterday, or we were thinking about the meeting we had later today, or last weekend. We're not there right now. We're right here. Now we're going to lean back, and you can go back to those places. So as you're listening today, think about leaning into the conversation. And here's why. So this is my journey. So I believe as we grow up in life, we had experiences and we heard words in our life in regards to things like, I'm not big enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not handsome enough. And those are words that physically people could tell us, or unfortunately the words that we told ourselves, and they're grandiose lies. In my own experience, what that does is it creates our identity in this world. And then unfortunately that identity turns into our behaviors and who we're supposed to be and who we think we're supposed to be in society. Now as we grow older, we have these massive things called obligations. So as husbands or as wives or as parents, we have obligations, and unfortunately when those obligations aren't met, we get massive resentment against people, places, or things. Some of us, and for me personally, I had a movie that I wanted everybody to play a part in. The problem is I never gave anyone a script, but I held everyone accountable to reading the script every single day. And when that didn't happen, that caused massive resentment in my life. And that resentment, when I don't get what I want, unfortunately turns into entitlement. I'm entitled to that behavior, or those actions, or those things. And when that doesn't happen, we escape. And those of us that are in recovery, or in addiction, or in mental health, you get to see this every single day. And we can escape in society. We can escape with sex. We can escape with drugs. We can escape with alcohol. We can escape with jealousy. We can escape with ego and arrogance and pride. We escape a number of different ways. And so growing up in the 3rd grade, I had a lazy eye. So one eye would turn in. And actually, my wife and other people in my office have told me that it's starting to happen again. So I've got an appointment with a doctor in the next couple of weeks. But in the 3rd grade, I had to wear a patch on my eye. So you can imagine, little kid going to school, glasses and a patch, hundreds of pirate jokes, and all those things. I'm also dyslexic, so reading in front of a class as a 3rd grader, I would miss words or I would miss complete sentences. And so public speaking was never in my deck of cards as a 3rd grader. But I've overcome all of those. But that identity, it gave me an identity that told me that I had to do a couple of things. So I had this really messed up identity in my brain. Number one is I thought self-worth equaled this. It equaled my performance plus your opinion of me is how I operated in this world. And I thought if I wore the right clothes, if I drove the right car, if I lived in the right house, if I belonged to the right country club, if I had the right stuff, that you would love me. And here's the problem with that. In the Bible, it teaches us to love our neighbor as ourselves. It also says to do unto others as you would do to yourself. The problem with society sometimes, and for me, is if we don't love ourselves, humanity doesn't have a shot. Either do we. No shot at all. So inside of this journey with me, I woke up one day and I had all these lovely things. They're all material, I can touch them, and just super blessed. But I hated the guy looking back. So we all get dressed in the morning. We might look at ourselves and brush our teeth. We might brush our hair. We might do a variety of things. But if you've ever really connected with your eyes in the mirror and looked back and deep inside yourself, sometimes that's not a great place to go. And I went there, and I looked at this guy in clothes, in a big house, with a lot of stuff. And I hated the guy looking back. I hated everything about him. I've never told this story publicly, so I'm going to tell it today. But that journey got so painful, I wanted to die. I was done. I had a wife, I had 2 kids, I didn't have grandkids at the time. That was 11 years ago. And I got on my knees in my closet and I asked God, take this pain away or I'm going to do it myself. I'm tired and I'm lonely and I'm really, really afraid. In that journey on that floor, I felt this peace, not like, hey, everything's going to be okay, like a soft pillow, but it was, hey, you're going to be okay, but this might suck. This journey might be really hard, but you're going to be okay. So I have a lot of friends in this community, and in growing up, I knew a lot of people in recovery, and to be honest with you, when I was full of arrogance and pride, I thought people that were in recovery just didn't have the self-will to just buck it up, suck it up. But what's really cool about recovery and the things that you do in this room is when my butt was falling off, those are the people I went to. I didn't go to the suit and tie. I went to the people that were authentic, that I knew who they were. It didn't matter what they wore, what they drove. They were authentic 24/7. Those are the people that I went to. So when I did that, I actually, and I keep this, but this is the shirt sleeve that I wore that day. So this sits on a shelf when I pray in the morning. This reminds me of my bottom This reminds me of what it's like to be at the very bottom. And everybody has their own bottom. My bottom was different. What's really cool, what I love about this, let's see if this is in my other pocket, these are my recovery tokens. These sit on top of this shirt sleeve. So I get to look at redemption and restoration on top of the bottom. It's beautiful. And I love every single thing about it. And it's because of people like you that showed me the way, that shows me that the redemption and restoration is available to a lot of different people. So the power of the brain, what I've learned is, I had a massive thinking problem. And there's 6 pillars of brain health. So physical exercise. Let me show you how manic I am. I quit smoking about 20 years ago. But when I smoked, I worked out every day. Okay, because I thought smoking was bad, but I thought working out would like offset it. Does that make sense? That's how crazy my thinking was. I quit smoking and I gained 50 pounds. Make sense? Okay, so for 2 years, I could only wear 2 pair of pants inside the walls of McGohan Brabender. That was it. And so I had to change my perception of food because I escaped through food to fuel. I needed food as fuel, not as comfort or speed. Medical health, I was afraid to go to the doctor and get my biometrics because I had a strong suspicion that they would come back, and if I had results that would tell me that I would have to change, and I didn't want to change. I didn't want to know. Delusion was awesome because I didn't have to recognize what was going on. And then I went to the doctor and I got the biometrics, and it gave me just a massive, massive self-awareness. I also took a test on realage.com when I was 44, and it said, Scott, you're 44, but your real age is 49. Your health age, you're 5 years older than you think you are. And it woke me up. Sleep and relaxation, to be honest with you, I thought people that took naps were lazy. I thought people that slept a lot didn't have energy. And be honest with you, they were useless to me. What an arrogant position. What I know today about the power of the brain, inside of sleep is the only time your brain can get rid of the garbage. It's the only chance it can restore itself. That's how it works. That's why God gave us rest. So we can release that stuff out of our brain. Mental fitness, no question about it, the rooms of recovery told me that I was not alone. Told me that this crazy thinking that people just like me thought just like me. And I wasn't alone. And then lastly, the social interaction. Also, there was a lot of places and people and things that I was afraid to go towards. And when I learned recovery, I was able to repair a lot of those people, places, and things. And so there's places in this community that I was embarrassed or afraid or ashamed to go to. Today, I have freedom. I can go everywhere. Now, I can have some people that potentially I might have offended, I might have hurt. I don't think there's a lot, but there very well could be. But you know what? I know I've cleaned my side of the street. And I'm free to roam. I'm free to roam anywhere. And people can have an opinion of me, and that's fine. But you know what? By the grace of God, I know who Scott McGohan is today. I know that. And I don't want to say I love myself in an arrogant way, but I like myself. I'm comfortable. I like being alone. Like, I'm okay being alone. I'm okay being by myself. It's fine. I'm going to share this with you, and I wrote this, and now I'm going to show my age because I got to put these glasses on. But when I grew up, I wrote poetry when I was a kid, but I was told that only girls write poetry. So when I was really little, I stopped. I like to draw and I like to do art, and I was told growing up that only girls like to do that, and I wasn't supposed to. But actually, it was an outlet for me, so I began writing again. But in the bottom of my recovery, I wrote this poem because I don't think I'm alone, but it's called Invisibly Broken, and I think there's a lot of people just like me, and that's why I'm here. So it says, I lay here alone with my prizes held high, my past blistered with pain, with a tear in my eye. Society gave me people to compare, some better, some worse. My pain didn't crash at the bottom. It would be the middle where I would burst. How much more could I hide? How much more could I take? I was blind to the destruction and what was honestly at stake. Just pick one more, alcohol, debt, lust, or anger. I was playing with my soul. I was powerless and my life was in danger. I was simply sick and tired of being sick and tired. Reality had disappeared and delusion was hardwired. Was it going to take jail, divorce, bankruptcy to shake my soul? I evaded them all. not satisfied, and it had taken its toll. Oh, I begged for a solution. Please, someone save me. My answer was a friend who delivered me love I could never see. He accepted me as I was with all my faults, guilt, and shame. He gave me the path of recovery. Life became much clearer, more sane. Oh, your ego must get past the stigma, the sound of recovery. Get humbly lost. Your journey is peace and true serenity. If Christ is close to your heart, the hope for you is compounded. Christ's love and grace opens your soul. Your reality becomes grounded. Your journey exposes the truth, the real pleasure in your pain. You begin to accept yourself and the pleasant sound of your name. You can't do it alone. Ask God for grace and tie it with a bow. The pain and regret will disappear. Your pain will rest on a soft pillow. Awaken to the gift of brokenness, its truth, its gift, not a simple token. I felt its peace and love. Don't be afraid. I was there, once invisibly broken. So I think there's a lot of people just like me that are out there roaming around and like pretending that they have it all figured out, and they don't, and that's okay. The beauty in all of that is just being vulnerable enough and be able to talk about that openly and let people know that they're not alone. Because I believe this. I believe what we think upstairs in our head is what we believe. And what we believe is what we give to the world. And what we give to the world is what the world sees in us. And the world is waiting for us to think differently. And when we have this, like we're intentional about these 6 pillars of brain health and living that in a completely different way, restoration and redemption is available to everyone. Raise your hand if you're in the mental health, if you're in this field or addiction recovery. Yeah. So, hey, I want to thank you for leaning into that profession because I'm here because of people like you. They teach us in life to plant trees where people can sit under the shade. Have you ever heard that before? You're in this work not because you're sitting under the shade, because you're in the hot sun. And it's beating down on you. And for the most part, those of you that are in this profession, you work and you don't get to see that very often. You don't get to see someone sitting under the shade. I'm sitting under the shade because of you. I'm sitting underneath your shade. And I'm hoping by the grace of God that one day I can supply shade for someone else. So I can't thank you enough for letting me be here today, and I wish I could stay the whole day. Thanks for leaning into the lives of people and making a difference in people's lives. And God bless. Have a great day.